Hi everyone, it's Joshua Barks, Associate Broker with Keller Williams Realty Boise and Team Lead of the Barks & Co. Real Estate Team. Let's dive into the October 2022 market dynamics in our deep dive session. If you're new to the channel, we talk about the Boise area housing market on a weekly-ish basis, and then once a month we go into our deep dives into these market dynamics. So, without further ado, let's get into these highlights. I know this video is going to be far too long for many of you, so I am including those chapters, timeline thing in the YouTube scroll bar below so you can go directly to the section or sections that are pertinent to you. And with these highlights, let's just kind of kick it off. The first thing you need to know is the market's continuing to balance out. As we approach the holiday season, as we get over the hump of the election, and as inventory continues to decline, demand continues to decline, everything is just getting much quieter out there. And as things balance out, that frenzy that we experienced over the past couple years is over. It came to a close early this summer, and we are seeing things still start to normalize. Inventory, which peaked back in August, is on a steady decline still. We actually have fewer homes available right now for sale than what we had going into the summer. So that's really awesome, seeing that kind of balance out as well. I don't foresee that changing anytime soon. We're likely going to continue to see inventory decline as we get through the rest of the year, because typically we see our lowest inventory months in the summertime around the holidays. So demand also is continuing to soften. This levels of demand that we're having right now are very similar to what we experienced in the wintertime. And that is likely due to rising interest rates, again, the election that just took place, and looming economic uncertainty. We have many buyers that have decided to pause, or because the holidays are right here, they've decided to put things on hold until after the holiday season. Very common, what we see normally pretty much every year. And then we have other buyers on the flip side of that are jumping into the market, taking advantage of what they can do for negotiating power. So I'll get into that later. But after average sales prices actually went up again this month. So you may recall that from August to September, we saw the average sales price in Ada County decline for the first time since October of 2014. Well, from September to October, we actually saw the average sales price come back up, and we're seeing that continue to increase. So we're still at just over 6% for the year so far, and all signs are pointing that that's, still working its way on balancing out. That's probably the plateau that I've been talking about, where we're seeing, the average sales price increase and decrease and increase and decrease, but really hovering about the same because we're flattening out. Absorption rates are showing that we're still experiencing a seller's market across most price points. We are continuing to get closer to that balanced market territory, but we're still technically in a seller's market right now. But with what we'd experienced over the past couple of years, it definitely doesn't feel like a seller's market. In fact, to some people, it feels like a buyer's market. And on that note, with negotiations, counteroffers are super common right now. Inspection repair requests are super common. And as a buyer, many sellers are, they're giving you under asking price. You're able to get that. You're able to get the seller to pay for closing costs or part of them. You're able to get the seller to buy down your interest rate. So that 7% interest rate, you can lower that so that your monthly payment is more manageable. There are a lot of options out there. So the buyers that have jumped into the market because they know that they can negotiate, now is an awesome time. One of the reasons that they can negotiate also, even if they aren't necessarily the strongest buyer, like they're like, well, I don't have a lot of money down or what have you. Well, there are options out there because you're not competing against all these millions of other buyers out there, which is fantastic. So it's still a good time to buy or sell depending on what your individual needs are. And so if you've been considering a move, you're worried about finding your next place, or you're not really sure what's happening in the current market, our current market is offering many opportunities for those people that need to sell and buy a place because there's a lot more choices. On first-time buyers, our market is still offering opportunities because, again, you don't have to compete on most homes for people, And as a seller, our market is offering opportunities in the aspect that as long as you can make sure that your home stands out against the competition, and you have a great agent that knows how to market your property correctly, you can actually come out ahead. I'm still seeing some sellers get multiple offers over asking price in a very short amount of time. And we're also still seeing sellers get more money than what other sellers of similar homes are getting, as long as they know and their agent, more specifically, their agent knows and is able to coach them and help them through the process in order to make that happen. So, super important. First off, let's get into Ada County. So we're talking about the overall market dynamics for October. As always, we start with the market trends chart, so let's dive into that. Right now, we have just over 1,250, so 1,259 available homes for sale. That's down from last month's 1,482, and of course, up significantly from what we had this time last year, 739, almost double. And then, of course, back in 2020, when we had basically 0 homes on the market, way more than 172. Now, the number of pending sales, the gray bars in the chart here, we have 401 that are pending right now, which is down from last year's 771 and down month over month from last month's 512. Of course, we had 774, which was similar. So from 2020 to 2021, we saw very similar demand. From 2021 to 2022, we're seeing demand diminish. No surprises there. Number of closing sales, we had 501 homes close in October, which is down from the 525, but I'd say probably roughly about the same. But when you're looking year over year, 501 compared to the 793, we're down, and compared to the 878 that we had in 2020, it's also down. No surprises from 2020's numbers, because if you remember, that summer was insane. We actually didn't see our spring market happen in spring. It happened in summer and early fall, so that's why we have such a high number for closed sales October of 2020. But realistically, we're seeing, inventory coming down, demand coming down, number of sales coming down. So everything's coming down there in a very steady pace. Nothing crashing by any means. In fact, because like I said, average sales prices are increasing. Last month, we were only at 5.9% year to date for the average sales price. Now we're back up to 6.1% with an average sales price in Ada County of $610,000. When you're looking at the absorption rate and prices based on the different price points, we have less than 3 months supply up to 400,000. Then we have less than 2 months from 400 to 500. But then we're, kind of all over the board here. So the average absorption rate being 2.2 months supply, what that means is if no new homes came on the market, and we know inventory is declining, and homes that are on the market continue to sell at the pace they have been selling over the past 12 months, which we know things are a little bit slower, that would mean we would completely sell out of every available house and property on the market in just over 2 months. Economists say that anything less than 4 months supply is considered to be a seller's market. Between 4 and 6, you get a balanced market, and then beyond 6 is considered a buyer's market. And right now, we're less than that 4-month window, basically all the way up to 1.5 million in Ada County, which is basically what we've been seeing for the past several months. But it's a buyer's market over 2 million, getting close to that buyer's market, but still balanced market in the 1.5 to 2 million area. But as you can see, all of these numbers for these price points just a few months ago were basically less than 2 month supply in most of these price points. So it's great to finally start to see that buyers have a lot more choices and things are taking a little bit longer, getting back to that sense of normalcy. Our average days on market, it went up 2 days. So we had 21 days on average. Now we're at 23 days. Average prices, so we know the average sales price is $610. The average pending right now in MLS is just under 650, and the average asking price is 715. So what we're still seeing here is an upward pressure on prices, but the gap is getting shorter and shorter, or smaller and smaller as we continue. Top three areas for Ada County. Star coming in at number one. I wouldn't be surprised if they win the day, quote unquote, at the end of the year. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. 10.8% so far year to date. Average sales price has increased by just over that 10% and is at $667,000 and change. North Boise, which is normally number one, is at 10.2% so far year to date. 840,000 in North Boise, and then Southwest Meridian coming in at number three, just over 9% increase so far this year. Average sales price out in Southwest Meridian of $705,000. So that's Ada County and what's going on there. Let's dive into Canyon County and get into that. As always, we'll start with the market trends chart. So we'll get into that. We have 613 available homes for sale right now, down month over month from 672 last month, which is up from last year when we had 367. And then, of course, up from when we had basically zero back in 2020. Number of pending sales also down. We have 186 pending compared to the 241 we had this time last month. And as you can see, winter months, January, February, we had 282, 237 back in December, 296. We are below what we experienced in the wintertime, with having significantly more inventory than what we had just this last winter. So number of home sales, 215, which is more than what we saw slightly this time last month. Still less than what we had this time last year, 350, and still less than the 345 we had the year before that. So home sales, I would say, are remaining fairly stable, flattening. Pending sales continuing to decline. That's no surprises with it being an election year and getting so close to the holiday season and the super increases we've seen in those interest rates over the past several months. That's what we're seeing. Inventory flattening out as we decline. We do have more homes available in Canyon County than what we had going into summer, but not by much. So 528, 613, that's likely going to continue to decline as we get further on into the year. Now the average sales price is up almost 8.5% so far this year, 8.4%, with an average sales price in Canyon County of $436,000, which, as you know, so we started the year at $402, so we're up, $34,000 so far this year, which is great news for Canyon County. Canyon County is actually beating Ada County by a significant margin. No surprises there either, because the average sales price in Ada County was $610,000, and the average sales price in Canyon County of the $436,000. We're seeing people that cannot afford Ada County move out to Canyon County, which is pushing those prices up further. So that's really what we're seeing out there. When you're looking at everything broken down by price point, the average absorption rate, so how long it would take to completely sell out of available homes if no new homes came on the market and all the homes we had currently sold in the same pace that we saw the last 2 years. 2.5 months is how long it would take. We are still all over the board here, but 2.5 months on average. We have a buyer's market in the anything above $1.5 million. No surprise for Canyon County, but we're still considered to see a seller's market, everything under $800,000. Once you go over the $800,000 mark, we're in what's considered a balanced market. So 4.9 months supply, 4.2 months. 4 months is that cutoff to be considered a balanced market based on what the economists say, and anything beyond 6 months is considered to be that buyer's market. So just a few months ago, we saw most of these numbers were less than 2 months, and a few months before that, we were, less than a month supply. So it's very good news to start to see just more available out there. Buyers have a lot more choices. Things are a lot more fair. There's a lot more negotiating happening. It's just a lot nicer to be in the market right now than it was over the past couple of years. Average days on market is also increasing in Canyon County, though the average days is less in Canyon County than what we have in Ada County. So 20 days on average. As you know, average sales price 436. The average pending right now 466, and the average asking of 508. So we're still seeing upward pressure on prices. We're not likely to see that really diminish in a significant way anytime soon. So we're likely going to continue to see towards the end of the year prices, the average sales price continue to rise, or at least stay very close to what we have it at right now. When you're looking at the top 3 areas in Canyon County, Greenleaf came in at number 1 with 14.2% increase so far year to date. Average sales price in Greenleaf of $490,000. Middleton bumped Parma out of the way and is now number 2, 12.5% increase so far year to date. No surprises because we saw Star come in super hot in Ada County, and Star and Middleton are right next to each other, those municipalities. $557,000 average sales price in Middleton, and then in Parma came in number 3rd with 11.5% and $365,000 as the average sales price in Parma. So that's really what's happening in Canyon County as well. Inventory continuing to soften, the number of home sales staying relatively stable, and the number of pending sales continuing to decrease as well, lower than what we see in the wintertime. So that's likely what we're going to continue to see through the rest of the year as we get into the holiday season, is pending sales staying either about the same or continuing to diminish, because the holiday season is typically our slow time of year anyway. If you're looking at interest rates, speaking of, we have 7.08% is now the average interest rate. So we're above 7%. A few weeks ago, we were just below 7%, then we were above, and then we were below last week, and then now we're back up above 7%. And the Fed has said that, they're going to continue to raise rates. They met a couple weeks ago and rose their Fed rate by another 0.75 percentage point. I believe that's the 4th time in a row that they've by 0.75 percentage point. So it'll be interesting to see what they do when they meet again later this year, because as they've said, they're going to be likely raising rates again, which will, of course, impact our mortgage rates and rates on everything else going forward. So rates are not likely to come down anytime soon, and that's kind of where we're at. That's why rate buydowns are going to be super important for buyers, so make sure your agent understands how those work, as well as make sure you know to ask for those of the seller in your negotiations and see what you can get out of that to help soften that monthly mortgage payment. And right now, because you're competing against very few people on the buyer side, you can get into something that you love now, and then you can always refinance later in a couple years when rates come back down, because they likely will come down eventually, but it won't be anytime soon. If you're trying to figure out, timing the market, this is the question I'm getting all the time right now. Well, is now a good time to buy? Is now a good time to sell? And really, if you're trying to time the market, that's a fool's errand. Time in the market is better than timing the market every time. And really, it's a personal question. It really comes down to, do you have a good enough reason to move? Like, if you're just moving willy-nilly, maybe it's not a good time to buy. Maybe it's not a good time to sell. It depends on your unique situation. And do you have a good reason to move? And then secondly, maybe even more importantly than having a good reason to move, can you afford it? Can you make it happen? If you answer yes to both those questions, well, then it might be a great time for you to buy or sell right now, because you can afford to move and you have a good reason to move. And those are the best people to work with anyway, because you need it to happen, you want it to happen, and everything can line up perfectly. That's really what happens. If you're just kind of, tire kicking, testing the market, right now is probably not a great time to move, because rates are super volatile. You want to make sure that, you're serious so that you can get that locked in. And as far as negotiating and things like that, if you're just kicking the tires, you want to make sure you know what you want so that your agent and you can go after it and really make that happen for you. So if you answered yes to both of those questions, reach out to the real estate professional that you trust. We'd love to be interviewed as well. And we can dive deeper into what your situation looks like and discuss, how we can make those goals a reality for you, if that's what you even want. Sometimes we meet with people and they're like, well, I have a pretty good reason to move, I think, and I think I can afford it, and we meet and we talk about it, and the time is just not right for them. Or maybe in a couple months it'll be the right time, but right now specifically isn't. And you don't know until you sit down with somebody that does this for a living, that focuses on these numbers day in and day out, and really just lay it all out there. Here's my situation, and that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you make good decisions. I'm not here to make those decisions for you, and I'm never here to pressure anybody into moving when it's not in their best interest, because I'm just here to give you the information that you need in order to make good decisions for you and your family. So speaking of, if you're wanting to move this winter or spring, it's never too early to start planning. So meet with your real estate professional early. Meet with us soon. Meet with us, next week. That way you can get yourself set up early and set yourself up for success. And then it's ultimately just less stress in the end, because you know exactly what your game plan is, and you can kind of stay in communication as, things get closer and closer to the time when you actually want to move. And if you're a seller and you have projects that you want to get done, now's a fantastic time, because contractors aren't quite as busy as they are during peak season, and you get to get those projects done. And if you're still living in the property, you can actually enjoy having those projects done through the holiday season. So you get to see the fruits of your labor with that. And then also a typical closing time frame is about 30 days after having an accepted offer. So average days on market is just over 20 days, and that's increasing. So realistically, if you're a seller right now and you put your house was ready to go, you had everything, and you went on the market today, you would be looking at, on average, having your home sold. Let's see, it's the 11th, it's the Veterans Day. You'd have your home sold first or second week of January if you were to put your home on the market today, and things took the average 23 days on market, and then the 30 days during escrow. So that's why I say, think ahead, because if people are like, well, I don't want to move until after the holidays. Well, it depends on when you want to move, because if you want to move by the end of January, you really need to get your house on the market probably the first or second week of December, based on how things are going out there. And if you're in a hurry to get your property sold, we work around the time frame that's important to you. So you just let us know. We do what we can to make everything happen and line up for you. So whether you're in a hurry to get your house on the market today, or you're, several months out, we're here for you. It's your timeline, not ours. So if you're buying or selling, here's kind of key points. As a seller, you want to make sure your home stands out against competition. You have so much competition now compared to the past couple of years, so make sure your home is priced attractively and looks great condition. And then how your home looks online is key. So making sure you have an agent that does professional photography and is great at showcasing your home online. That's going to be huge, because more and more people are looking online these days. And then not only does it need to look good online, it needs to look good in person. It needs to show well. So don't make sure you have great photos online, but if your house looks not so great in person, people are going to be like, well, I feel lied to. The photos online look great and it doesn't look great in person. But I also see the opposite happen all the time, where the photos online are terrible, and then we go look at the property and we're like, wow, this is actually a great house. Wonderful when I'm working with buyers. But as a seller, that's a real disappointment, because you could be leaving money on the table. So how your house looks online, presentation, and having an attractive price is key. And then as a buyer, you have more power right now because competition is minimal for buyers, and you have the most power right now than we've had in a long time as a buyer. So know what you can afford, know what you want, know what you're comfortable with on pricing, and then go after it. Get an agent that knows how to negotiate, knows the ins and outs of the market, understands what's happening with each specific property, because each property is going to have a different negotiating strategy that's going to work. And each house is going to be different levels of competition depending on how it's set up, how it's presented, and all of those things. So just make sure you have an agent that has your back with that, and get your ducks in a row. Meet with that lender, figure out what you're comfortable with and what you want to do. So that's really what I have for everybody. I hope you found this informative. Make sure you click that like button and subscribe to our channel, and you can hit that notification bell. We put together a smaller update usually on a weekly-ish basis. So every Friday, Saturday, roughly, we put those together and send them out. And if you want to get our emailed report where we actually write everything out and show the numbers, have an actual report with the numbers, you can sign up for the email to that. Link to that's going to be in the description below. So be sure to let us know if you find this helpful. We would love to help you out and make sure that we're putting out the information that is valuable to you. And that way we can make sure that we're really giving you value, because it takes a lot of work to put these together. And we want to make sure we're covering topics that are important to you. So just let us know how we can help. Thanks, and have a fantastic weekend.